Hello and welcome. I'm Shadow of Shadow Gaming, bringing you Programming with Shadow episode number 30. In today's video, we're going to continue working on our registration simulation here. Where we left off last time, we've started the basic program. Let's go ahead and run it. What we created was a menu of the options we're going to want, and that's pretty much where we stopped. We have a little run simulation method, but it doesn't do anything yet, so we're going to continue going from there. So just a reminder, once it runs, we do a little setup. We change the color scheme to our own color scheme. Give us a welcome message. Then we display a menu, and the menu will end up looping through. There we go. Five. So there we go. So one thing we could do is pick default here. Instead, we could have maybe a current value and do it like that instead. I actually think that would be better, but we'll think about that. I guess we also have a date. Other things, I don't really think. Yeah, that was pretty much typo. What else we looked at was we looked at returning. We looked at being able to return multiple values with a tuple. We also looked at passing in functions or methods in our case, passing in methods so that we could take whatever we have and you can give it a method and it tells you, okay, run this method, whatever I give you. We've seen how you can use that to do different effects. Go ahead and let's do change this instead of default. Let's make it say current value. I think that would be better than the default. That way you can change it and you know changing. I had these defaults. We may not even want them, or we may make them private actually. So let's just do dot number of registry. Oh, it needs an object. There we go. Oh, it's static, so let's pass it in. Registration. Let's just call it registration. Let it be a little shorter. Registration dot hours of operation. Registration dot number of windows. And registration dot expected registration. So there we go. Now we'll have the current values, and over here now have to do this beforehand, so we'll do it like this. Pass it in here. I think that'll be better in the long run. Then we can say that these, I'm going to press Control D, Control D, Control D, and make these private and make sure it still works. So we'll exit the simulation. Let's rerun it. Oh, there's one other thing we did. After we finish, we wipe out the color scheme and return it to whatever the console's default was. So we do something like that. There we go. Now if we change the values, hour of operations, it's 9 hours. Oh, we haven't done anything to actually change values yet. Right. All right, wait a minute. Uh, I guess, yeah, it doesn't get updated. That's, let's see, that's just that. This program loop. So we remind ourselves what we do here. So get choice, where we display the menu. So let's see what we do here. What I'm thinking is we'll need to pass the data down or save it when we pass it in. Passing it in may be the easier option. Then we could just say eh, yeah, I think we pass it in. That runs the problem, didn't it? Yeah, maybe we should keep it on default and me think through this problem before we get too far in it. Maybe we'll come back to that actually. Let's do a to do instead. To do, make, undo. We'll undo all changes. We'll come back with that. I'll fix the top. We'll come back to that. So there's just a to do, and we'll come back to that. What I want, do more change. What I want to do is just pass in the registration, the convention registration here, and update it like that. But that doesn't get it because we set the values here. That isn't correctly what we want. I want those values to update. I'll think about it, and we'll come back to that in a later episode. That's not what I wanted to do today anyway. But to do, make these show the current value rather than default. And the problem is that they will need to update. That means I need to either pass it in or recreate the options or something. We'll think about what it does, and we'll do something later. Where I wanted to go today is let's go ahead and start filling out this method run simulation. Right now we just display whatever the user gives us and say we're good there, but that's not what we want it to do. I want it to do a little more than that. So I guess let's begin by making a we're gonna call it a model. So a model is just a way to model. I don't want to say model. Model is a way to represent some situation, something. In this case, we're going to have two models. We're going to have an event and a registrant. So these are modeling what they do. So it'll have either the data or methods related to something. Let's start with an event. To do that, we're also going to need two files. We're going to need event type.cs and event.cs. Event type is not really going to do much. It's going to be an enum. think we've mentioned them before, maybe. Let me type namespace or namespace registration.simulation. It'll be in the other one though. It'll be instead models. So I think we've done enums before, but if we haven't, it's really easy. It's just public enum event type. Then we give it an arrival and a departure. Those are our two events that someone can do. They can either arrive or leave. And in this case, it's not leave the event, it's leave the registration area. So an enum, each one of these gets a number and basically a named number. So I can say zeros an arrival and ones a departure. And I could set these to different values if I need. Like all you would do is set it to 100, and now it's 100, and this should be 101 because it just. We don't need that though, so we'll just go with 0. But you can do something like that, and it gives you named numbers basically. Over here in the event, so one thing with the event is we're going to implement the iComparable, I think. I guess we should see if we actually need it first, but I think we're going to need iComparable, but we'll work our way to it. So let's begin with copy the namespace I did. Now we'll say public class event. Like I said, let's wait. Let's hold off on iComparable. We may not need it. So an event has an event type. We'll say event. We'll say, yeah, I was debating on what terminology I wanted to use there. That'll do. May want to make it just regular type instead, but we'll think about it. So it also has a time, and we're going to use the system's date time class. So that's just a way that .NET has for keeping track of time and date and calendars and all that kind of. We'll play around with it a little bit. We also need an ID. And let's do a constructor here. We'll take an event type, a date time, and an int ID. We should probably make this a. I don't think I've used them yet, but make this a default constructor. Let's see if that's the option here that's given. Yeah, primary constructor. There we go. We can do that, and that should be fine. All right, so there's this event type. One more thing I'm going to do is I'm going to override the toString method. So we're going to use this as the way to show what we're trying to do. So we're going to say return event type time and registrant ID. We'll use that, or I use that for debugging purposes. Yeah. There's just an event, and not really all that much to it. Registrant will have a little more, but it'll be very similar. You notice a lot of times with models that this is the case. There's not a lot to them, mainly data. Maybe a little bit of methods, but usually it's data. Let's go ahead and do the registrant. think all we need is the class, so we'll do registrant.cs. So namespace, models, public class, registrant. Now, IntelliSense is bothering me today. One of the things of going from different IDEs, public int, you get used to one and then you can't do it, and it's hard to remember what you're doing. This one's acting laggy again too. I bet we have an update coming. So we'll have an ID, we'll have service time, notice that it added using system up there. That's where date time is actually located. So we're going to have another type here, a time span. This is the built-in system way of taking track of how long something takes. Let's see, what else will we need to know which queue it's in. I want to know arrival time, public event. So this is our event we just created. Event departure. Fail. I think that's what we want. Then we'll do a constructor. Let's do registrant ID equals ID. Service time equals default. So service time default should be null, right? I think that's null. I guess it's not saying it's null, so I guess it's default time. We'll leave that as is though. So -1, so that indicates an error. We'll fix that later. Basically, I guess they don't know when they arrive, or what position, which queue they're going to go in until they arrive. Departure time equals new event. There we go. There's our event type, and you see it shows departure and arrival. Makes it easy to select. And ID of -1. There we go. We're also going to do a we'll override toString here as well. What? Yeah, something's up there. We'll do return arrival time. /n service time and departure time. I'm not even sure we'll actually use this, but or add it anyway. I'm going to put 2/ns at the end, but it may just need to be. There we go. There's just a 2. And it could be a expression body member as well. On the next slide. There we go. All right, there's us. There are 2 models. So now we go back over the registration. We should be able to start going. So where I want to begin, I think. Let's do a few steps. Let's we'll do validate inputs. Then we'll set up. Then we'll do any setup steps we need, and then while, and we'll do while there are still people in the queues. Inside, then we have a few steps. First, we need to get the people off the queue. So queue if arrival, if departure. So we'll need to do something slightly different for each of them. We'll need to find longest line. That's the number we're actually looking for. Track of what line's longest. Maybe we don't need to do that every cycle, but I think we do. All these are spaced up. Then we need to display everything, so show the user what's happening. And the last step, something we haven't seen before, but it'll be necessary. We need to slow the demonstration, slow the simulation. At the very end, display stats after finish. I think those are the steps I've had planned, I believe. And some of them will have more to do, like the arrival and departures. There's going to be some more things inside of there. So let's begin filling these out. And I think we'll try to do these in separate methods. So let's begin with a so since there's multiple fields, let's do it like this. Let's do check all the fields, get the results, and we'll pass those results back. If there's anything, it's an error. If not, it's all right. We'll say string error message equals validate inputs if string dot is null or white space. If it's null or white space, then we're done. If it's not null or white, wait a minute. No, if it is, I was right the first time. If it is null or what? No, if there's something there, if it's not null or white space, if there's something there, we'll for now we'll just throw an exception. We may come back to this later. We'll say error message. Create us a new exception with that, and that means we're done at that point. Semicolon. All right, let's write validate input. So the ways we could do that, we could do it as either we could do it as a local method. We could do it as a private method. Both ones will work. I think this is a good case for a local method. I don't think there's going to be all that much there, and it's very specific to this functionality. I think the better time for a private method is if you're going to use it in a couple places. We'll go this route first, and if I don't like it, we might switch later. But for now, we'll just add it here. We'll say static. I don't think we want to do static. Let's just do string check fields. String error messages equals empty. So here's where we'll do the actual validation. So if I want to do these as methods, we just learned about that. I'm trying to think where I want to do this at. I'm having thoughts. I could just do what I'm trying to do up here. We'll go this route first, and if we don't like it, we might change. So number registrants is less than 0. It's less than 1. There will be some message, so we can say what? See what if I can find it. So let's see. Did what kind of spacing did new line and a T? So we'll copy that. So message plus equals error messages. We'll go with that. Expected number of registrants is invalid. Should be greater than 0. Please re-enter. One thing I don't like there, don't have a message. Let's see. Let's put it here. We'll just do it this. We'll do it like that. See how we like that. If hours of operation are less than 0, or hours of operations are greater than 24. Is that right? I think so. Yeah, we'll go that. Technically, maybe 24 hours isn't valid, but I think for a user's perspective, they could put in 24 and it makes sense, actually. We'll say error message plus equals Same scheme. Hours of operation. Are valid. They should be between 1 and 24. Please re-enter. So may want to adjust this and just bail out earlier. So what we could do instead, we could add this logic. Might have already added it. Could add this logic over here. Yeah, we're already doing check, so we're gonna check here. So I guess this is probably not even required. We're probably not gonna happen. We're gonna continue though because we're gonna. If I'm still thinking about it, but we may end up actually going to unit testing this, and at that point, then this will come. Cool, let's check the next one. So let's see, number of windows less than 0, and on this one you probably should have an upper limit, but we don't. Number of registration lines is invalid. Windows. Should be greater than 0. Please re-enter. Finally, last one is duration. There we go. So we said we had a, can't remember what we said. I want to say it's like hour or 2 minutes. Greater than or equal to. So we're saying it takes at least, should be greater than or equal to 1. See, there's us a good place for a bug now, is because we have them different in 2 places. So there's why you want to do it in 1 place. Maybe this is a bad design. Probably is. /n/t. Service time is invalid. Should be 1 minute or greater. Please re-enter. There we go. Current message. There we go. Let's be static. I think it can't because, yeah, can't make it static, which makes sense in this case. So what did I call it? Validate inputs. There we go. All right, what's that want? There we go. What is happening there is because it's not static, it was using this one instead of the correct one. There we go, we'll fix that. Put a return here. That marks the end of a method, not required, but in this case, I think it's usually clear. You can go ahead and get rid of these. There's just the first one. So setup away. Instead of what I'm imagining here is we'll need to do this is where we'll actually figure out how many people are supposed to be here and do all that generation ahead of time. That way you don't have to do it while you're actually running the simulation. So yeah. So what we're going to need now let's see, let's go. I guess let's put it in simulation. We'll call the distributions. Yes. So we'll need somewhere here for where we're actually going to put the random numbers we're going to generate. Like we're going to put them here. I think. Public static class distributions. So I'm going to use these like that. So what's going to happen is you're going to use them. You're just going to create them. You're not going to, or you're just going to say distributions dot boson distributions dot negative exponent, something like that. So let's begin with a private static read only random RNG equals new. Need to use random here. So we'll do public static int get boson. So we're already in distribution, so we won't worry about that. Expected value. So this one might be slightly different than the one we did before. So let's fill it out and we'll see if it ends up different. We'll do count. So I'm going to say double limit equals negative expected value. The double sum equals math.log next double. So we need to do our trick here for the value. For 0, sum greater than limit, plus sum plus equals math.log rng.next double. Return count. So let's go ahead and open the previous randomness. So if we remember from this, I'll just do there we go. This is a slightly different formula than we did there. So the one I'm doing now should give us the same answer, should give us a similar distribution, however. This one you're telling how much around it is. The one I'm doing now, we're giving it an expected value. We're using that expected value as the limit. So that way we can say we have maybe 1,000 people. So we're expecting 1,000, so that's our expected number. What we should do is this. So the reason to do a 1 minus that is because log here can't actually take a 0. So if you have a 0, you need to get rid of it. So this gets rid of it because range for next double is between 0 and 1. We're doing 1 minus that. The 1 is not inclusive, so you won't ever have a point or 1 it'll always be less than that. So then you can, or you get rid of the 0 because then 10 minus 0 is 0. It just raises this, or is 1. It just raises the scale so you don't have to deal with that. Let's go back over here. Go ahead and add that in here. Here. That'll keep us from having to deal with the log there if anything goes wrong. That looks an awful lot like a do loop. But we'll keep it in this. So there's us a Poisson. If we come back here, go ahead and go to setup. So setup, we'll just say we'll just do setup here. So again, we have the option of doing it either internally or outside. Again, this will only be called here, so I'm going to just put it inside. We don't need that. We need to say setup. We need to create some. We need to create a few more values up here. Here, let's add a public int actual number of registrants. Yes. Not necessarily guaranteed to get as many as expected, but we should be somewhere in the ballpark. Actual number of registrants equal distributions Poisson for number of registrants. So number of registrants is now badly named, so let's correct that. Let's say expected number of registrants. There we go, a little better on the naming there. All right. Create another variable. Put it on top. Private list queue of registrant. We'll call it registration windows. Data we're using here. All right, now what does it look like? Need one more angle bracket. Collections dot generic. There we go. It imported the wrong one on us. So there's us their registrations. Probably like this. Let's say equals empty. And we're gonna adjust that here. Like that. Now we're going to give it that many. So we know how many there are now, so we can just do it. Now we need to set those up. So let's do set up the registration windows. I guess that's what all this is doing. This is what? Get the actual number of registrants with the registration window. So do this, then we'll say for int I equals 0, I less than number of windows, I plus plus. Registration windows dot add new queue of registrants. We have no clue how many are going to end up in each of them, but go ahead and set it up. So in my example here, I did something here that I think I don't actually want. We'll go ahead and add it, but we might come back and remove this. So private list of int I think this is not what I want to actually do. I'm trying to see how I use the elsewhere. Yeah, I think we'll leave it at this, but I may want to revise that. What I'm going to use it for is I'm going to put the actual numbers here and just generate them here. I don't know if I want to do that. I might just want to do them as we go. We'll go ahead and follow my plan for now, and we'll come back to that. Now we'll do set up registration numbers. Yeah, I don't think this makes sense, actually. Yeah, I'll have to look back and figure out what I was actually doing here when I was finding this. Addition numbers at I equals. So there's what I did before. So I have an array of list events. So that seems like a problem that we should fix, but we'll come back to it. Is that all right? I'm not sure about that. So generate arrival events. Other features here. Let's do start the timer. Start. So timer is easy. We'll start with it. We need a field for time. Here we'll do private time span total time. Down here we'll say n.0. The very beginning of time. Counts are easy too. We're going to have an event process appear. We'll say, let's see, public int event process get set. There we go, something like that. Down here, what we'll do is we'll do events processed equals 0. Count of arrivals equals 0, and count of departures 0. We haven't created those. Let's create those as well. Here we'll have public int count of arrivals get set, public int count of departures get set. Something like that. Now I think that's their setup minus this method. We're out of time, so I may have to hold it on that one. That may be able to do back up from here. Yeah, we'll have to call it that one because we're out of time, but we'll pick right back up from here. So this has been episode 30. This will just continuing working our way through setting up our simulation. So next lesson we'll be doing similar. We'll keep on going. We didn't really get a good chance to run it. We're just in the middle of writing out the simulation, so maybe in the next one we'll get it a little far enough that we can actually run it a little bit. But yeah, that'll have to do it for now. So this has been Shadow of Shadow Gaming, so thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.